Come with me. A millionaire sees a boy shivering on the street, and the next day changes his life. Elizabeth Harrison watched the street activity through the bulletproof windows of her penthouse when she noticed something that made her pause. A boy was leaning against the wall of the neighboring building, visibly shivering in the cold of the New York City night. She went down to the lobby carrying her most expensive fur coat, determined to help that child. When she approached, the boy looked at her warily. "Hello, sweetheart, you must be freezing. Would you like my coat?" The boy, who couldn't have been older than 12, took a step back. His dark eyes shone with a mix of pride and fear. "No, thank you, ma'am, I don't take handouts." Elizabeth was surprised by his answer. It was rare to find someone, especially a child, who refused her help. "It's not a handout, just a kind gesture. You can give it back tomorrow." "I'd rather be cold than owe a stranger a favor," the boy replied, adjusting the blue beanie covering his curly hair. That answer struck something deep in Elizabeth's heart. She had built a real estate empire since she was 25, but she had never seen such dignity in someone so young. "What's your name?" "Tyler," he said hesitantly. "I'm Elizabeth. What are you doing out here so late?" The boy glanced around as if checking if anyone was listening. "I can't talk about it." "Why not?" "Because my dad said it's better this way." Elizabeth felt a tightness in her chest. There was something very strange about this situation. A child sleeping on the street in the middle of New York City, yet speaking politely and showing such strong values. "Does your dad know you're here?" Tyler nodded but avoided her gaze. Elizabeth sensed there was much more to this story. "All right, Tyler. I won't push. But if you change your mind about the coat, I'll be here tomorrow at the same time." The boy watched as she walked away, clearly puzzled by this elegant woman who had come down from a luxury building just to talk to him. The next day, Elizabeth couldn't focus on any of her meetings. The image of the boy shivering in the cold wouldn't leave her mind. At 10 that night, she went back down to the street. Tyler was there in the same spot, but this time he was awake and seemed to be waiting for her. "Hi, Tyler." "Hi, Miss Elizabeth. You remembered my name." "I have a good memory." This time Elizabeth sat on the ground beside him, not caring about her expensive clothes. "Why do you sleep here, Tyler?" The boy stayed silent for a long time before answering. "My dad works in the building over there. He's the night doorman, but no one can know I sleep here." "Why not?" "Because if they find out he has a son and brings him to work, he could lose his job. And it's the only job he could get." Elizabeth's heart ached. The situation was more complicated than she'd imagined. "And your mum?" "I don't have a mum. I mean, not anymore. She left when I was a baby." "And you don't have a place to live?" "We do, but it's really far. Dad spends almost his whole paycheck just on transportation to get to work. So he decided it was better for me to come with him and sleep here. At least that way there's a little money left for food." The reality of that family began to take shape in Elizabeth's mind. A father struggling to support his son, making sacrifices she couldn't even fathom. "How old are you, Tyler?" "I'll be 13 in December." Elizabeth did a quick calculation. 13 years ago, in December, she had lost her own son during childbirth. The coincidence unsettled her. "And how long have you been doing this?" "About 2 months since Dad got this job." "What about school?" "I don't go anymore. Daddy said that when our situation gets better, I'll go back to school." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us who are just starting out. Now, continuing, Elizabeth felt a growing anger inside her. That intelligent, well-mannered boy was being deprived of an education because of poverty. "Tyler, if I found a way for your father to keep his job even if they knew about you, what would happen?" "I don't know. I think he'd be happy. But I don't want you to get into trouble because of us." "It wouldn't be trouble. I work in real estate. Maybe I can help somehow." Tyler looked at her curiously. "Do you live in that tall building?" "I do." "It must be really cool to live up so high. You can probably see the whole city." "You can, but sometimes it's lonely." "What do you mean?" "When you live alone in a big place, you can feel lonelier than someone who lives in a small space with people they love." Tyler thought for a moment. I never feel lonely when I'm with my dad. Even here on the street. Those words struck Elizabeth deeply. She had achieved everything in life, but she had never experienced the kind of love and security that boy clearly had. What time does your father finish work? At 6 in the morning. And what do you do in the morning? He sleeps a little right here and I make sure no one bothers him. Then we go home. And at night when he's working? I stay here. Sometimes I read. Daddy got me some used books. Do you like reading? I love it, especially adventure stories. Elizabeth smiled for the first time in weeks. There was something special about that boy, a connection she hadn't felt in years. Tyler, can I ask you a personal question? Sure. Do you remember your mother? The boy's expression darkened slightly. Not really. Daddy doesn't like to talk about her. He just said she was very young and wasn't ready to be a mum. Does that make you sad? Sometimes. But Daddy says sometimes people do what they think is best, even when it hurts, and that there's no point being angry at someone who's already suffered too. The boy's maturity was astonishing. Elizabeth wondered what kind of father he had to teach such valuable lessons in the middle of so much hardship. Your father sounds like a very wise man. He is. He's the best person I know. Elizabeth spent the rest of the night talking with Tyler about books, dreams, and plans for the future. When she said goodbye, she promised to return the next night. In the days that followed, Elizabeth developed a routine. She finished her work commitments early and spent a few hours talking with Tyler. Each conversation revealed more about the boy's extraordinary personality. A week later, she decided she needed to meet Tyler's father. She arrived earlier than usual and spotted a tired-looking man walking toward the neighboring building. "Daddy!" Tyler waved at the man. Elizabeth watched as father and son greeted each other. There was genuine affection between them, but also a constant worry on the man's face. "Tyler, who is this?" the father asked, noticing Elizabeth. "This is Miss Elizabeth, Daddy. She's our friend." The man approached cautiously. He was tall, thin, with prematurely graying hair and kind but weary eyes. "Good evening. I'm Michael Davis," he said, extending his hand. "Elizabeth Harrison," she replied, shaking it. When their eyes met, both froze for a moment. There was something familiar about the man's face, but Elizabeth couldn't place it. "Do you live in this neighborhood?" Michael asked, clearly uncomfortable with a well-dressed woman talking to his son on the street. "I do. And I've been talking with Tyler some evenings. He's an exceptional boy." "Thank you," said Michael, but his expression remained tense. "Tyler, can we talk?" The boy walked away with his father, and Elizabeth could see they were having a serious discussion. After a few minutes, Tyler returned to her. "Dad said I can't talk to you anymore. Why?" He said rich people only help when they want something in return, and that our family can't afford the price of any favors. Elizabeth felt offended, but at the same time she understood Michael's distrust. He had probably had bad experiences in the past. "Can you tell your father I don't want anything in return? That I just want to be friends with you?" "I can, but I don't think he'll believe it." "Why not?" "Because he says when you're poor there's always someone trying to take advantage of your need." Elizabeth thought about those words all through the following week. Had her approach been inappropriate? Did she really seem like someone who wanted to exploit the situation? At the end of the week, she tried a different approach. Instead of looking for Tyler, she went straight to Michael. "Good evening, Mr. Davis." He looked at her with surprise and suspicion. "Ms. Harrison, what are you doing here?" "I wanted to talk to you about Tyler." "There's nothing to talk about. I already told him not to bother you anymore." "He doesn't bother me. In fact, our conversations have been the best part of my days." Michael studied her for a moment. "Why would a woman like you be interested in a boy like my son?" "Because he reminds me of who I wish I'd been as a child. He has a purity and wisdom I lost a long time ago." "Ma'am, with all due respect, rich people always say pretty words. You're not the first person to show up wanting to help our family." "What happened the other times?" Michael hesitated before answering. "Once, a woman said she wanted to adopt Tyler, said she could give him a better life. Another time, a man offered me a better job, but when I found out it was something illegal, Elizabeth began to understand Michael's distrust. He was protecting his son the only way he knew how. "Mr. Davis, I don't want to adopt Tyler, and I don't want you to do anything illegal. I just want to have friends." "Friends?" "Yes. I have a lot of money, but I don't have family. I don't have real friends. Everyone who gets close to me wants something. Tyler is the first person in years who talks to me without expecting anything in return." Michael seemed to consider her words. "And what do you want from us?" "Nothing. I just want to keep talking to Tyler. And maybe, if you allow it, help with small things. Like books for him, or a meal when you're hungry." "Why?" "Because you remind me of what really matters in life." Michael was silent for several minutes. "All right, but on one condition." "What?" "If I sense you're trying to take my son away from me, or if you're plotting something, we disappear and you'll never see us again." "I agree." From that night on, Elizabeth talked with both Tyler and Michael. Little by little, she learned more about their story. Michael had married very young, at 20. His wife, Jessica, was only 17 when she got pregnant. The marriage had been arranged by their families after they found out about the pregnancy. Jessica never wanted to be a mother, Michael told Elizabeth one night when Tyler had fallen asleep against him. She was too young, too much of a dreamer. She wanted to travel, study, live adventures. When Tyler was born, she tried, but she couldn't connect with him. And then? Then she said she was suffocating. It felt like her life had ended before it even began. One morning I woke up and found a note. She had left in the middle of the night. "And you never heard from her again?" "Never again." That was almost 12 years ago. "Does Tyler know about this?" "He knows his mother left because she was too young, but he doesn't know all the details. I don't want him growing up thinking it was his fault." Elizabeth admired how Michael protected his son, even from painful truths. She was beginning to understand why Tyler had become such a special boy. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. As the weeks passed, Elizabeth became part of the small family's routine. She brought books for Tyler, sometimes warm meals for both of them, and most importantly, offered companionship and engaging conversations. One night, however, something changed. Elizabeth arrived and found Tyler alone, more downcast than usual. "Where's your father?" "He's working. But something bad happened today." "What was it?" "His supervisor found out I sometimes stay here. Someone reported it." Elizabeth felt her stomach tighten. "And what happened?" "Dad almost lost his job. The supervisor said if it happens again, he'll be fired. And now Dad says I can't come with him anymore. I'll have to stay home alone every night." "But you live so far from here." "Yeah, and Dad said he doesn't have money for transportation every day, so he'll have to sleep here in the building and only come home on weekends." "Does that mean you'll be apart during the week?" Tyler nodded, trying to hold back tears. "I don't want to be away from my dad, but he says he has no choice." Elizabeth felt anger rising inside her. How could someone be so cruel as to report a situation like that? A child who just wanted to stay close to his father. "Tyler, do you know who reported it?" "No. Dad said it doesn't matter. That there are always people who don't like seeing the poor trying to survive." That night, Elizabeth made a decision. The next day, she sought out the building manager where Michael worked. "Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Harrison from Harrison Enterprises." The manager, a middle-aged man named Robert, was clearly impressed by her name. Harrison Enterprises was one of the largest real estate companies in the city. "Ms. Harrison, what an honor to have you here. How can I help you? I heard you have a night doorman named Michael Davis." "Yes, we do. Why do you ask?" "I'm interested in hiring him for a special project, but first, I need to know if he's a reliable employee." "Oh yes, Michael is excellent. Punctual, honest, responsible. In fact, we were considering promoting him to building superintendent." "That's wonderful. And I heard he has a son. Is that a problem for you?" Robert seemed uncomfortable. Well, we received a complaint about the boy being here at night, but between us, I don't see an issue. The kid is well behaved and doesn't bother anyone. Who made the complaint? A resident from the building next door said she found it inappropriate to have a child on the street late at night. Elizabeth mentally noted that she needed to find out who this resident was. Robert, I have a proposal. What if I guaranteed a functional apartment for Michael and his son in one of my buildings? In exchange, he could work as the general superintendent for 3 of my properties in the area. That would be fantastic. Michael is an excellent employee. He'd be very grateful. Then consider him released from here starting next week. But please don't mention my name. Just say he was recommended for a better opportunity. Robert agreed, clearly interested in maintaining good relations with such an influential businesswoman. That evening, Elizabeth found Michael and Tyler with somber expressions. Did something happen? She asked. The supervisor said he found a better opportunity for me, Michael said, confused. A job as a janitor, with a company apartment included. But that's wonderful. It's strange, I didn't apply anywhere. I didn't send my resume to anyone. Elizabeth feigned surprise. Maybe someone recommended you. You're an exemplary employee. That's what the supervisor said, that I was highly recommended by someone important. And when do you start? Monday, but I'm scared. What if it's some kind of scam? Dad, don't you think it could be a good thing? Tyler said hopefully. It's just things that seem too good to be true usually are. Elizabeth understood Michael's suspicion. He had learned to be cautious with life. Michael, how about if I go with you to see this apartment? 4 eyes see better than 2. You'd do that? Of course. We're friends, aren't we? On Saturday, the 3 of them went together to see Michael's new workplace and home. It was a commercial building with a few company apartments for employees. The apartment was small but clean and well lit. It's perfect, Dad, Tyler said, running from room to room. Michael still seemed wary, but Elizabeth could see he was moved too. The outgoing janitor greeted them and explained the duties. It was a quiet job, mostly maintenance and security for 3 commercial buildings on the same block. And who owns it? Michael asked. I'm not sure. It's a big company. Harrison Enterprises, I think. Elizabeth saw the tension flash across Michael's face, but he said nothing. After the janitor left, Michael turned to Elizabeth. It was you, wasn't it? What was me? This job. This apartment. You arranged all of it. Elizabeth hesitated. She didn't want to lie, but she also didn't want Michael to feel indebted. Michael, I knew it was too good to be true, he said bitterly. What do you want in return? Nothing. Everyone wants something, Elizabeth. What's your price? Tyler, who had stayed quiet until then, stepped closer to his father. Dad, what if she really just wants to be our friend? Tyler, people like her don't befriend people like us. Why not? Michael didn't have an answer. Elizabeth seized the moment. Michael, I understand your distrust, but let me tell you the truth. She took a deep breath before continuing. I'm 42 years old. I built a company from scratch. I have more money than I could spend in several lifetimes, but I don't have family. I don't have real friends. I don't have anyone who truly cares about me. So what? So when I met the 2 of you, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt like I belonged somewhere, like I mattered to someone. You matter to us, Tyler said softly. That's why I want to help. Not because I pity you, but because you've helped me too. You've shown me what a real family is. Michael was silent for a long time. And if I accept this, what happens next? Then you'll live here. I'll keep visiting when you'll have me, and we'll keep being friends. That's it. That's it. Tyler looked at his father with pleading eyes. Dad, please. This could be our chance for a better life. Michael looked around the apartment, then at his son, and finally at Elizabeth. Fine. But if one day you decide you want something in return, I'll walk away and never bother you again, Elizabeth finished. Deal. The move happened the following week. Elizabeth helped with the basic furniture and saw the genuine joy on Tyler's face as he had his own room for the first time in his life. For the first few months, everything went smoothly. Michael adjusted quickly to his new job. Tyler returned to school at a nearby institution, and Elizabeth visited the family 2 or 3 times a week. But one evening, Elizabeth received an unexpected call. "Hello? Elizabeth, it's me, Michael. Can you come over?" Something strange happened. "What is it?" "You'd better come see." When Elizabeth arrived at the apartment, she found Michael and Tyler sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers in front of them. "What are these papers?" "They arrived in the mail today," addressed to Tyler. Elizabeth picked up the documents and began reading. They were adoption papers, birth certificates, medical reports. "I don't understand. These are Tyler's adoption papers," Michael said, his voice tense. "Papers I've never seen before." "What do you mean?" "Elizabeth, I never officially adopted Tyler. When his mother left, she just handed him to me. There were no adoption papers. Nothing." Elizabeth felt her heart race. "So how—" "That's what I don't get. These papers say Tyler was adopted by me when he was 6 months old, but I remember clearly that Jessica was pregnant, that I was there for the birth." "Dad," Tyler said softly, "are you sure?" Michael looked at his son, then at Elizabeth. I thought I was sure. But these papers, they're from a hospital I've never heard of." Elizabeth examined the documents more carefully. There was something familiar about them. "Michael, can I take these to verify their authenticity?" "Why would you do that?" "Because something isn't right, and if someone is digging into your lives, I want to know who and why." The next day, Elizabeth took the papers to her lawyer, Catherine Wilson, a seasoned 60-year-old woman who had handled many complicated cases for her before. "Catherine, I need you to verify if these documents are real." Catherine studied the papers carefully. "Elizabeth, these documents are legitimate. They're registered in the official system." "How is that possible?" "What's strange is that they were sealed. Someone with special access had to request them. Who would have that kind of access? Private investigators, attorneys with specific authorization, or biological relatives?" Elizabeth felt a chill in her stomach. Biological relatives? Yes. If the birth mother or someone from her family was looking for the child, these are exactly the documents they'd obtain. But why send them to Tyler? Maybe it's a warning. Or maybe someone trying to make contact. Elizabeth spent the rest of the week haunted by the discovery. If Tyler's birth mother was searching for him, what would that mean for Michael and for her? On Friday, her secretary, Jennifer, informed her that a woman had called asking about the Wilson family. "How did she know I know the Wilsons?" "I don't know, Miss Harrison. She said she had important information about the boy, Tyler." "Did she leave any contact details?" "She said she'd call again." Elizabeth decided not to tell Michael anything until she had more information. But that night, when she went to visit the family, she sensed something was off. "Did something happen?" she asked. "A woman showed up here today," Michael said, visibly unsettled. "What woman?" "She said she was a social worker. Wanted to know about Tyler's situation." "What did you tell her?" "I said Tyler was fine, that he was going to school, that he had everything he needed. But she asked strange questions." "What kind of questions?" "About his early years, about his birth parents, about how he ended up with me." Tyler, who was doing homework at the table, looked up. "Daddy, why did she ask if I remember before living with you?" "I don't know, son." Elizabeth Harrison felt the pieces of a very complicated puzzle starting to come together. "Michael, would you mind if I hired a private investigator to find out what's going on?" "An investigator?" "Yes. Someone is meddling in your lives, and I want to know who and why." "You'd do that?" "Michael, you're my family now, and family protects family." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. The investigator Elizabeth hired, Richard Thompson, was a former police officer known for his discretion and efficiency. In less than a week, he already had crucial information. "Mrs. Harrison, the case is more complicated than we thought," he said, seated in his office. "What did you find?" The woman who posed as a social worker doesn't work for any official agency. She's a private attorney. An attorney for whom? For a woman named Jessica Wilson, who, according to records, is Tyler's biological mother. Elizabeth felt the world spin. Jessica, Michael's ex-wife. No, ma'am, that's the problem. Michael Davis was never married to any Jessica. In fact, according to official records, Michael Davis has been single for 15 years. What do you mean? Someone fabricated a false story. Either Michael is lying about his past, or someone is manipulating the records. Is that possible? With the right money and connections, almost anything can be falsified. Elizabeth fell silent, processing the information. Go on. The real Jessica Wilson gave birth to Tyler at Mercy General Hospital 13 years ago. She was 17 and unmarried. The father wasn't listed on the birth certificate. And then? Tyler stayed in the hospital for 3 months because Jessica couldn't care for him. During that time, there was an adoption process. Did Michael adopt him? No. According to records, Tyler was adopted by a couple, but there's a gap in the documents. I can't find the adoptive parents' names. Then how did Tyler end up with Michael? That's the million-dollar question, Mrs. Harrison. Elizabeth left the meeting with more questions than answers. How could she confront Michael with this without destroying the trust they'd built? That night, she visited the family as usual, but was visibly tense. Elizabeth, are you okay? Tyler asked, noticing her state. Just a little tired, sweetheart. Michael watched her carefully. Did something happen at work? Actually, I need to talk to you, Michael, alone. Tyler went to his room to do homework, and Michael and Elizabeth sat in the living room. Michael, the investigator, found some things about Tyler's documents. What did he find? That Tyler really was adopted, but not by you. Michael turned pale. What do you mean? The records show Tyler was adopted by another family as a baby. There's no mention of your name in the official papers. That's impossible. Michael, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. What is it? Are you really Tyler's father, biologically or through adoption? Michael was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice trembled. I've never been anyone's father, Elizabeth. What do you mean? Tyler came into my life when he was about 3. I found him abandoned at a bus station. Elizabeth felt like the ground had vanished beneath her. Abandoned. He was alone, hungry, scared. It was clear someone had left him there and walked away. And you... I couldn't leave a child like that. I took him home, cared for him. Cared. I tried to find his family, but I couldn't. Why did you make up the story about the ex-wife? Because I thought it would be easier to explain, and because Tyler needed a story to tell at school, to people. I didn't want him to feel abandoned. Michael, do you understand this is kidnapping? I know, he exploded. Do you think I don't think about that every day? But what was I supposed to do? Leave him to starve at the bus station? You should have gone to the authorities, and they would have put him in an orphanage where he'd probably be mistreated or forgotten. I've seen what happens to kids in the system, Elizabeth. But now his birth mother is looking for him. How do you know that? The investigator found out. She hired a lawyer. Michael buried his face in his hands. I always knew this day would come. I always knew someone would come for him someday. Michael, are you going to turn me into the police? The question took Elizabeth by surprise. She looked at the man who had raised Tyler with so much love and dedication and realized there was no simple answer to this situation. I don't know. Please, Elizabeth, at least let me explain to Tyler before anything else. Explain what? The truth. That I'm not his father. That someone abandoned him. That I just tried to give him a family. Do you think Tyler will understand? I hope so. Because if his birth mother really wants him back, then maybe it's for the best. At that moment, Tyler walked into the room. Dad, why are you crying? Michael quickly wiped his eyes. It's nothing, son. Just talking about grown-up stuff. Can I help? Michael looked at Elizabeth, who nodded. Tyler, sit down. I need to tell you something important. The boy sat beside Michael, clearly worried. What is it, Dad? Tyler, do you remember when you were little? Your early years? Not really. Why? Because I'm not your real father. Tyler looked confused. What do you mean? When you were 3, I found you alone at a bus station. You were lost, hungry, scared. So? So I took you home and took care of you. But I'm not your biological father. Tyler processed the information for a few seconds. What about my real mom and dad? I don't know, son. I tried to look, but I never found them. So you saved me. Michael hadn't expected that reaction. I just did what I thought was right. And you took care of me all these years, even though I wasn't really your son. I did it because I love you, Tyler. You're my son, not by blood, but by choice. Tyler threw himself into Michael's arms. You're the best dad in the world. Michael started crying again, this time with relief. But Tyler, Elizabeth said gently, your birth mother is looking for you. What do you mean? She hired a lawyer to find you. And she wants me to go live with her? Probably. Tyler looked at Michael, then at Elizabeth. What if I don't want to? What do you mean? Michael asked. What if I want to keep being your son? I don't care what the papers say. Tyler, it might not be our choice. The law says children should be with their birth parents, even if they abandoned their kid. Elizabeth realized Tyler, despite his young age, understood perfectly. Even then, sweetheart. Then let's run away. We can't run, Tyler, Michael said. That would only make things worse. Then what do? We face it, together. The next day, Jessica's lawyer called the apartment. Hello, Mr. Davis. This is Ms. Sarah Jenkins. I represent Jessica Wilson. Go ahead. My client would like to arrange a meeting to meet her son. He's not her son. She abandoned him. Mr. Davis, technically you have no legal rights to the child. My client is willing to be understanding, but she wants to meet Tyler. And what if he doesn't want to meet her? Mr. Davis, I suggest you consult a lawyer. My client will pursue legal custody of the child, with or without your cooperation. Michael hung up the phone with trembling hands. Elizabeth, who had overheard the conversation, approached him. Michael, I know a very good lawyer. She can help us. Elizabeth, I don't have the money to hire a lawyer. I do. I can't accept. Michael, this isn't the time for pride. It's time to fight for Tyler. Catherine Wilson, Elizabeth's lawyer, listened carefully to the whole story. The situation is complicated, she said. Technically, Michael committed a crime by not turning the child over to the authorities, but on the other hand, he saved Tyler from abandonment. So what now? Now we investigate Jessica Wilson. If we can prove she truly abandoned the child, we can argue she forfeited her parental rights. How do we do that? First, we find out where she's been all these years. Second, we verify whether she's actually capable of raising a child now. The following weeks were intense. Catherine discovered Jessica had spent years involved with drugs, had several abusive relationships, and had only recently stabilized. She went through rehab, Catherine reported. She's been clean for 2 years. She has a steady job and her own apartment. Is that good or bad for our case? It's complicated. On one hand, it shows she wasn't fit to care for a child for a long time. On the other, it shows she's trying to recover. What about Tyler? Does he have any say in this? Legally, no. He's a minor, but a judge may consider his opinion, especially since he's already 13. Meanwhile, the pressure was mounting. Jessica started showing up at Tyler's school trying to talk to him. Dad, a strange woman spoke to me today, Tyler told Michael. What did she say? She said she was my real mother, that she wanted me to go live with her. And what did you say? I told her my real father was you and that she had me confused with someone else. Michael smiled, proud of his son's loyalty. And what did she do? She got angry, said she was going to sue us and that you'd go to jail. Michael's heart tightened. Each day the situation grew harder. A week later, the official summons arrived. Jessica had filed for custody. The hearing was set for a month later. What does this mean? Tyler asked, seeing the adult's distress. It means we'll have to explain our whole story to a judge, Michael said. And he'll decide who I stay with? Yes. What if he decides I have to live with her? Then you'll have to go, even if I don't want to, even if you don't want to. Tyler was quiet for a moment. Aunt Elizabeth, he said, turning to her, can't you adopt me? What do you mean? If you adopt me, then she can't take me, right? Elizabeth looked at Michael, who seemed surprised by the idea. Tyler, adoption isn't that simple. But you have money, a big house. You can give me a good education. Tyler, Michael said, Elizabeth has her own life. She doesn't have to take responsibility for you. But what if she wants to? Elizabeth felt a strange emotion rising inside her. The idea of adopting Tyler had crossed her mind before, but she'd never seriously considered it. Tyler, even if I wanted to, your birth mother has more rights than I do. But she abandoned me. Yes, but legally, she's still your mother. That's not fair. Life isn't always fair, sweetheart. That night, after Tyler went to bed, Michael and Elizabeth talked about the possibility of adoption. Would you really consider adopting him? Asked Michael. I love Tyler as if he were my own son, but you are his father, Michael. You raised him, you took care of him all these years. It wouldn't be fair for me to show up now and take that place. Elizabeth, if this can save Tyler from being forced to live with a woman who abandoned him, then I'll give up my rights. You'd do that? I'd do anything for his well-being. But what about you? You'd be without him. I'd rather know he's happy and safe with you than unhappy and at risk with her. Elizabeth was moved by the sacrifice Michael was willing to make. Let's talk to Catherine tomorrow. Catherine listened to the proposal with interest. It's a possibility, she said. Elizabeth has the economic and social profile that would be favorable for an adoption, and if Michael agrees to voluntarily transfer custody to her, would that work? It could work, but Jessica will certainly contest it. How? She could argue she has more rights as the biological mother. And does she? Technically, yes. But if we can prove she abandoned the child, and that Michael and you provided a better life for Tyler, would we have a chance? We'd have a chance. The preparation for the hearing was intense. Catherine gathered all possible evidence: Tyler's school records, witnesses who knew the family, medical reports showing Tyler was a healthy and well-cared-for child. We also need a psychological evaluation, said Catherine, to show Tyler has a strong emotional bond with you. The psychologist who evaluated Tyler was impressed by the boy's maturity and emotional stability. It's rare to see a child so centered and secure, he told Catherine. Clearly, he was raised in a loving and stable environment. And what about the arrival of the biological mother? He shows anxiety and fear toward her. There's no positive emotional connection. Will that help the case? Absolutely. The child's emotional well-being should be the priority in any court decision. 2 weeks before the hearing, Jessica showed up at Michael's apartment. Mr. Davis, can we talk? Michael hesitated, but opened the door. What do you want? I want to meet my son. He doesn't want to meet you. He needs to know me. I'm his mother. You abandoned him when he was 3. I was young, I was going through problems. Now I'm better. And you think that justifies what you did? I'm not here to justify myself. I'm here because I want my son back. Tyler, who was in his room, overheard the conversation and came out. Are you her? He asked. Jessica looked at Tyler with emotion. Hi, Tyler. I'm your mother. My mother is Aunt Elizabeth. You're the woman who abandoned me. Tyler, I know you're mad at me, but I'm not mad. I just don't know you and I don't want to. Please give me a chance. Why? You had 13 years to look for me. Why only now? Jessica had no answer. I'll win custody of you in court, she finally said. You might win, Tyler replied, but you'll never win my love. You lost that when you left me. Jessica left the apartment visibly shaken but determined. On the day of the hearing, the courthouse was tense. On one side, Jessica with her lawyer. On the other, Michael, Elizabeth, and Tyler with Catherine. The judge, Judge Howard Williams, a 60-year-old man known for being fair but strict, first heard Jessica's arguments. Your Honor, My client is the child's biological mother, said Miss Sarah Jenkins. She faced hardships in the past, but she's now rehabilitated and wants to raise her son. And why did she only seek the child now? Asked the judge. She was in treatment and couldn't care for him properly. Now she can. And the child's abandonment? My client claims she did not abandon the child. According to her, the child disappeared while under temporary care. Michael stood up indignantly, but Catherine made him sit back down. Then Catherine presented the defense. Your Honor, Mr. Michael Davis found the child abandoned and raised them with love and dedication for 10 years. Mrs. Elizabeth Harrison is willing to officially adopt the child, providing all the necessary conditions for their development. And what about the fact that Mr. Davis did not turn the child over to the authorities at the time? Your Honor, my client acted out of humanitarian impulse. He found a child in a vulnerable situation and protected them. Even so, this constitutes a crime. Yes, Your Honor, but a crime motivated by compassion, one that resulted in the child's well-being. The judge then called Tyler to testify. Tyler, do you understand what's happening here? Yes, I do, Your Honor. And what do you want? I want to keep living with my dad, Michael, and be adopted by Aunt Elizabeth. Why don't you want to meet your birth mother? Because she abandoned me when I needed her. Dad Michael never abandoned me, even when things got tough. And if I decide you should live with your birth mother, then I'd have to obey, but you'd be separating a family that loves each other. The judge was visibly impressed by Tyler's maturity. Anything else you'd like to say? Just that family isn't about blood, Your Honor. It's about love, and I know exactly where my love is. After hearing all parties, the judge withdrew to deliberate. The wait lasted 2 agonizing hours. When the judge returned, everyone was visibly nervous. After examining all aspects of this complex case, he began, with the child's well-being as the utmost priority, I rule as follows. The courtroom fell completely silent. The child, Tyler, will remain under the custody of Mr. Michael Davis, with supervised visitation rights granted to the birth mother, Jessica Wilson. Jessica began to cry, while Tyler smiled for the first time in weeks. As for the adoption petition filed by Mrs. Elizabeth Harrison, the judge continued, I grant the request provided that visitation rights with Mr. Michael Davis are maintained. What do you mean, Your Honor? Catherine asked. I am granting a shared adoption. Tyler will have 2 legal parents, Michael Davis and Elizabeth Harrison. It was an unusual decision, but the judge had found a way to preserve the family Tyler had chosen. And what about the charges against Mr. Michael Davis? Asked Miss Sarah. Given the special circumstances of the case and the positive outcome for the child, I will issue only a formal warning. When they left the courthouse, Tyler was beaming. Now I have 2 official parents. How do you feel about that? Elizabeth asked. I feel like I finally have a complete family. And what about your birth mother? Maybe one day I'll want to get to know her better, but for now, I'm happy like this. In the following months, the new family dynamics settled naturally. Elizabeth sold her penthouse and bought a large house where they could all live together. Michael continued working as a janitor, but without financial pressure. Tyler returned to a private school and developed a passion for literature. Jessica visited Tyler once a month, always supervised. Gradually, they built a cordial but distant relationship. Do you still feel angry at her? Elizabeth asked Tyler during one of their nighttime talks. I'm not angry, just empty, like she's a stranger who shares some genes with me. That could change with time. It could, but that's not what worries me. What does? I worry that one day, both of you might get tired of me. Tyler, that will never happen. How can you be sure? Because I chose you, just like you chose me. And choices from the heart don't change. 2 years later, Tyler had grown into a confident and studious teenager. Michael had gone back to school and earned a technical degree in business administration. Elizabeth had discovered the joy of being a mother. On a December evening, as Tyler turned 15, they were gathered in the living room celebrating when he made an unexpected announcement. I want you both to know that you saved me. What do you mean? Michael asked. Dad, Michael, You saved me from dying abandoned. Mom Elizabeth, you saved me from being separated from Dad. You both gave me a family. You saved us too, sweetheart, Elizabeth said. How? You taught me what it means to be a mother, and you taught your father what it means to be loved unconditionally. And you taught me that family is about choice, Michael added. I chose you at that bus station. You chose to stay with me, and Elizabeth chose both of us. And now? Now we're a family forever, Elizabeth said. That night, after Tyler had gone to bed, Michael and Elizabeth talked about the future. Do you regret anything? She asked. I regret not documenting things better when I found Tyler. It would have saved us a lot of trouble. Anything else? I regret taking so long to trust you. And I regret taking so long to understand that family doesn't have to be perfect to be real. What do you mean? Our family isn't conventional. You're not my husband, Tyler wasn't born to me, we don't have the typical family structure. But we're more of a family than many traditional ones. That's true. And you know what else? What? I finally understand why I lost my baby 15 years ago. Why? Because Tyler was waiting for me, and I needed to be ready to be the mother he needed. Michael smiled. Do you believe in fate? Now I do. I believe everything in life happens for a reason. Your wife left you so you'd be free to find Tyler. My baby didn't survive so I'd be available to be Tyler's mother. Tyler was abandoned so he could find you. All our paths crossed at the right time. What about Jessica? Jessica was part of the plan too. She gave life to Tyler, but she wasn't ready to raise him. Now she's learning to be a better person, and who knows, maybe one day she can be a positive presence in his life. You really believe that? I do. Because the alternative would be believing life is just a series of cruel coincidences. And after everything we've been through, I choose to believe there's a purpose. 3 years later, Tyler graduated high school as one of the top students in his class. In his graduation speech, he talked about family and choices. Family isn't about DNA, he told the audience. Family is about who chooses to stand by you when things get tough. It's about who loves you, even when you're not perfect. It's about who teaches you to be a better person. In the audience, Michael and Elizabeth wept with pride. I was lucky to be found by a man who chose to be my father without any obligation, and I was lucky to be loved by a woman who chose to be my mother, without any biological connection. They taught me that love is always a choice, and every day I choose to love them back. After the ceremony, they went out for a family dinner to celebrate. So, Tyler, what's next for you? Elizabeth asked. I want to study law. I want to help other families like ours. How so? I want to work in adoption. I want to help abandoned children find families, and families who want to love find children. That's a beautiful choice, Michael said. It's a choice inspired by our story, Tyler replied. And are you prepared to handle difficult cases? I am, because I know every child deserves a family who chooses them, and every family deserves a child who completes them. That night, when they arrived home, there was a letter in the mailbox. It was from Jessica. Tyler, I know our relationship will never be what I dreamed of when I decided to look for you, but I want you to know I don't regret finding you, even if I couldn't be the mother you needed. Seeing the man you've become, I know Michael and Elizabeth did a better job than I ever could. Thank you for letting me be part of your life, even from afar. With love, Jessica. Tyler folded the letter and tucked it away carefully. How do you feel? Elizabeth asked. I feel at peace. For a long time I was angry at her for abandoning me. Then I was angry at her for trying to take me away from you. Now I understand she did the best she could with the circumstances she had. And does that change anything? It means I can fully forgive her now. And maybe in the future, we can have a better relationship. But she'll never be your mother, Michael said. No, Tyler agreed. She's the woman who gave me life. But my mother is Elizabeth, my father is you, and our family is our choice. 5 years later, Tyler was graduating from law school and already working at a firm specializing in family law. Michael had started a small property maintenance business, and Elizabeth had scaled back her work at Harrison Enterprises to focus more on family. One Sunday afternoon, they were in the backyard when Tyler made an announcement. "I have some news for you." "What news?" Elizabeth asked. "I met a girl, and I'm thinking of proposing." Michael and Elizabeth exchanged glances and smiled. "Tell us more about her," Michael said. "Her name is Amanda. She's a social worker. She helps at-risk kids." "How did you meet?" "On a case we're working on together. A child who was abandoned and needs a family." "Just like you," Elizabeth noted. "Exactly. And when I told her my story, she said she wanted to meet the family who saved me." "When do we get to meet her?" "Tonight. She's coming for dinner." "Tonight," Elizabeth exclaimed. "Tyler, I need to prepare something special." "Mom, relax. She doesn't care about that stuff. She's like you. She cares more about people's hearts than appearances." When Amanda arrived for dinner, everyone was instantly charmed by her. She was a simple, cheerful young woman, clearly in love with Tyler. "Tyler told me your whole story," she said during dinner. "It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard." "Thank you, dear," Elizabeth said. "Actually, you've inspired me to do something." "What?" "I've decided to apply to adopt a child. On my own." "Really?" "Yes. There's a 5-year-old girl at the shelter where I work. She's been there for 2 years, and no one wants to adopt her because she has some health issues." "What kind of issues?" "Nothing serious, but it requires special care. People prefer perfect kids. And you want to adopt her?" "I do. Because I've learned from you that family is about love, not perfection." Michael and Elizabeth were moved. "Amanda," Michael said, "you have our full blessing." "And our support," Elizabeth added. "Actually," Tyler said, "I have a proposal." "What proposal?" "What if we adopted that little girl together? After we're married, of course." Amanda was surprised. "You'd do that?" "I would. In fact, I've always dreamed of having a little sister." "Tyler," Elizabeth said, "are you sure?" "I am. I want to build a family like ours, a family you choose." "What about you, Amanda?" Michael asked. I'd love that. But you barely know me." "We know enough," Elizabeth said. "We know your heart. And that's what matters." 2 years later, Tyler and Amanda married in a simple backyard ceremony. Little Emma, now 7, was the flower girl. Jessica was present, along with many friends the family had made over the years. In his wedding speech, Tyler spoke about his family's journey. "When I was a child, I was afraid someone would find out our family wasn't normal. Now I know our family is special precisely because it isn't normal. Our family grows through love, not blood." He looked at Emma, who stood beside Amanda. "Emma, welcome to our family. Not because you need us, but because we need you to complete our circle of love." Emma smiled and waved at everyone. "Dad Michael, thank you for teaching me that being a father is a daily choice. Mom Elizabeth, thank you for showing me love has no limits. Amanda, thank you for choosing to be part of this beautiful madness we call our family." After the ceremony, as everyone celebrated, Elizabeth stepped away to take in the scene. Michael approached her. "What's on your mind?" "I was thinking how 15 years ago I was a wealthy, lonely woman. Today, I'm a happy, fulfilled grandmother." "Grandmother?" "Amanda's pregnant. They haven't told anyone yet, but she told me today." "Really? Really? Our family is growing even bigger. Are you happy?" "I'm complete. For the first time in my life, I'm complete." "And Tyler?" "Tyler became the man I always dreamed my biological son could be. He's generous, brave, loving. Everything a mother could wish for." "And Emma?" "Emma is teaching us it's never too late to start over, that a child can overcome trauma when surrounded by enough love." "And the baby on the way?" "The baby will be born into a family that knows love is a choice. They'll grow up knowing family isn't about perfection, but acceptance." "Do you think we made the right choices? All of them?" "I do. Just look around us, Michael. Look how many lives our choices have touched. Tyler became a lawyer helping families. Amanda found her calling caring for children. Emma gained a family. I learned how to be a mother. You discovered you could be a father. Even Jessica became a better person. That's true. And it all started with you choosing not to abandon a child you found at the bus station, and with you choosing to offer a coat to a boy on the street. Simple choices that changed everything. They fell silent for a moment, watching Tyler dance with Amanda, Emma playing with the other children, and all their friends and family celebrating. Michael. Yes? Thank you. For what? For letting me be part of Tyler's life, for accepting that I wanted to be his mother too, for building this family with me. Elizabeth, thank you. For seeing beyond appearances, for choosing to love us, for turning our struggles into victory. We made a good team. We made a family. As the night went on and the celebrations continued, everyone knew this wasn't just a wedding. It was a celebration of choices, a celebration of love that overcomes obstacles, a celebration of a family built from the heart. Tyler, now a married man about to become a father, looked around and remembered the frightened boy who slept on the street 15 years ago. He remembered the elegant woman who offered him a coat and changed his life. He remembered the brave man who found him abandoned and chose to be his father. "What are you thinking about?" Amanda asked, walking over. "I'm thinking we're proof miracles exist." "How so?" An abandoned boy, a lonely man, a wealthy woman with no family. Three people who should never have met, yet found each other at the exact moment they needed one another. And now? Now we're a family chosen, built with love, determination, and faith. "And our daughter," Amanda said, resting a hand on her still flat stomach. "Our daughter will grow up knowing that family is about choice, that love is about commitment, and that it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters who you choose to become." "What about Emma?" "Emma will grow up being the big sister, teaching our daughter that everyone deserves love and that everyone can start over." "And your parents?" "My parents will be the best grandparents in the world because they know the value of every family moment." That night, when everyone finally went to sleep, the house was full of love, laughter, and plans for the future. Tyler and Amanda in the master bedroom, Emma in the room that had been decorated especially for her, Michael and Elizabeth in separate rooms but connected by the hallway and by affection. It was an unconventional family, but it was a real family, a family that had chosen each other and would keep choosing each other every day. And it had all started with a woman who saw a cold boy and decided to offer not just a coat but a home, a family, a future. The end. Now tell me what you thought of this story of resilience and love. Do you believe family is truly about choice or about blood? Leave your thoughts in the comments and share it with someone who needs hope. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories.